Greetings, my fellow Earthlings. I'm back with another quick tip this time. This time we're going to cover chord inversions. Inverting a chord is a way to achieve a different tone and feeling while using the same notes that fit harmonically in their place. We do this by changing the order the notes are played in, from low to high, specifically so the bass note, the lowest note of the chord, serves a different harmonic function than usual. There are set rules as to how you're supposed to invert chords, but I encourage you to mix up the notes however you like and see if you enjoy the result. So given that a triad chord, a chord that has 3 notes, is the root note, which is the letter name, the third of that root, and the fifth of that root, right? So our first inversion instead would be from low to high, the third, the fifth, and then the root. Whereas the second inversion would be the fifth, the root, and then the third. And then the root position is what you call it when there's no inversion happening. It's how the chord is typically voiced. So by using these inversions, we actually employ different intervals to create the same chords that we're used to hearing. A major chord typically consists of a major third interval with a minor third interval stacked on top of that. I've done some videos in the past that cover some of this chord theory kind of stuff, and I'll provide you a link down in the description to the ones that are relevant. Anyway, we'll take C major for example. The notes in root position C major are C, E, and G. So the first inversion of this becomes E, G, and then C. So you'll see that the first interval that we come to is now the same minor third, but the space between the G and the C becomes a perfect fourth. Second inversion would be G, C, and then E. So again, we have that perfect fourth from G to C, and our original major third between C and E. I think the really interesting part here is that typically a root position triad will span a perfect fifth interval, from the lowest to the highest note. But notice in the first inversion C major triad, the jump from E to C is actually a minor sixth interval. And likewise, the second inversion's jump from G to E is a major sixth. It's these differences in the intervals that really give inverted chords their sound and make them a useful tool in composition. If you're struggling with everything sounding the same, if your chord progressions are stuck inside of a box and you just want to break out, it might be time to try out some chord inversions. All this works essentially the same for minor chords too, but the intervals are flip-flopped in terms of which ones are major and which ones are minor. And I should also note that the concept of chord inversion goes a bit deeper when it comes to seventh chords or any other type of chord that has more than 3 notes. This would add the possibility of a third inversion, in which the highest degree of the chord becomes the bass note. So for example, a C major seventh chord in root position would be C, E, G, and B. To make it a third inversion, we would reorder the notes. So from low to high, it would go B, C, E, and then G. So technically, there are no rules on how the notes are arranged above the bass note. What I mean by that is, a first inversion chord will always have the second degree of the chord as the bass note, but the higher voices can fall in whatever order you like, including doubled notes, varied octaves, omitting some of the notes, etc. And similarly, a second inversion always has the fifth of the chord as the bass note, just like a third inversion always has the seventh as the bass note. Anyway, I think that about covers it for chord inversions, or at least for the simple explanation, so we're going to call it right there. This has been another quick tip. Stay tuned for more like this. Stay tuned and listen to some of my music. Stay tuned for some musical motivation. I do a lot of things over here on my channel, so stick around, and if you're feeling pretty cool, then maybe you could drop me a like or subscribe or do some other cool stuff like that. Every little bit helps me out, as I'm sure you already know, and with that being said, I hope you all have fun out there.